Hey there, another video from Raleigh City Farm, and in this one I want to talk about the site plan and how we're going to go about doing that. We had a couple setbacks as you see in the last video with the high tunnel, so that's going to push us back a little bit of time, but it is what it is. But one thing that I need to get sorted out right now is that I got to start working on the site plan for the field. And the first step that I'm really going to do, and I have a general idea of how I'm going to set it up, is I'm going to take a drone shot so I can get a nice photo so I can work from that, and I'm going to take measurements to sort of overlay that, and I can start laying out beds and think about the irrigation setup and stuff like that. And I've said before that you should always base your design of your field and your blocks based on the irrigation, because it's harder to do it the other way around. Also, if you don't have a drone, you could definitely use Google Maps with the satellite feature. That can be pretty handy too, but it may not be as up to date, but you could also use that as a good guideline. I'm gonna send that drone up in the air, get some photos so we can I can use that and then, you know, work from there. All right, so let's get this drone in the air. So go through the photo and the layout and what I have thinking, but generally, just to give you a sense here, this is from the driveway looking back towards the corner. This is all going to be down this way. It's just going to be a whole row of 50-foot annual beds all the way down. There will be a path down the middle here. It's pretty much where this is, just maybe a little bit that way, but it's pretty close. And then I'm not quite sure yet what we're going to do on this side. So over here, we're probably gonna have beds going north and south. We're either gonna use them for annual beds and maybe some perennials. I'm not sure yet, but I gotta lay it out and see what it's gonna work. We also have a couple other constraints out here. Let me show you those. All right, so just to give you a sense where we're at, this is the corner looking back. One thing is that we have this guy here, and in there is our backflow preventer for city water. The city water comes in somewhere over from the street there and runs underground here. So this is an obstacle here that we're gonna have to work around. Also, check this out. That's right, there's actually a piece of sidewalk in the middle here. Yep, that's there. And then back over here, right in the middle, is where we sort of have water connections here that we aren't gonna move. So this is a hydrant here. This is all city water. And then we have some sort of random stuff in the ground here. There's a couple of shutoffs and another spigot. And this is, I'll back up here. You can see this is just sort of right in the middle of the property. So these are the main constraints. Besides that, this is gonna be that path I just mentioned. That'll be the main path going out towards the driveway. And then sort of where you see here, all these rough beds is what I'm talking about. These will be roughly in this place all the way down to the end. We'll probably leave a couple of long beds at the end for some other stuff. A lot of flexibility here. I don't think that this is going to get planted out even remotely all at once when we do this in stages. So just want to show you what we're working with here, and this is that area with the I think we'll put some north-south beds in over here. Probably just fill it up and then leave a little bit of path from there, between there and the shed. So those are the main obstacles that we have here that I have to be working with in the field. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take a bunch of measurements and then transfer that over to the photo, and then I can start developing my plan. All right, so I'm back home now, and I'm going to go look at those photos and share them with you and talk through the site plan here and talk a little bit about how to develop a site plan in general. I really can't cover all the different situations that you might have, and it's very contextual, so it's got to make sense for your farm. But one thing you really want to take into consideration is, you know, moving materials around, how long it takes to walk places, where your tools are kept. You want to keep things as streamlined as possible, but you also need to make sure that it works with the layout of your farm, the way the water is going to be running through the property. And as I said, I can't really cover everything, but I want to talk about this plan and this site in particular so that you can get a good example that you might be able to apply some of the details to with your property. All right, so this is a photo of the full site, and this is a 1 acre lot, and the property goes along the road here, and then it curls right back around behind the tunnels and across here. So this is our 1 acre. Now, one thing that to point out here is that there really isn't much parking. There is street parking. We have a couple of spots generally for me and maybe one or two other people. So that's really a
limitation on the site here, and we have to realize that. Another thing is we have a driveway coming in this way, and we also have a driveway coming in from the top. And one of the main things that you need to keep in mind with that is moving materials. And so the main two materials that we'll be getting will be wood chips, which we'll keep here, and compost, which we will keep here. The reason that I've chosen those locations is because it's easy for a large truck to dump them. The truck could go over here and then dump back this way, and also for this is just a pile of trash that we will be removing. And also with these two, this is going to be the main two things that will be moving around the farm. You can see it's extremely close to the field production here, and it'll also be close to the tunnel. So this makes a lot of sense. Now, the other things I can point out here are that, we have a walkway through here, and we are going to wood chip this, and this will be nice to be able to move things in and around. This right here is our wash station, and this is our refrigerated trailer. This over here is an extra trailer that we're going to be selling, and back here will be all of our composting area. So this is great because we'll have plenty of space for composting, but we'll be able to keep it out of sight so it's not, for people to see right when they come in. Some other stuff you can see, we have what's like a rain garden here that's been set up, and it's just a nice place for people to sit and hang out. And there's also some other stuff here that looks really pretty when everything's blooming. Around the outside, we're going to be setting up or improving on perennial crops and flowers and herbs and fruit and stuff like that. So that'll create a nice border. We also have some perennial stuff here, and then we have some blackberries around here. So a lot of stuff that's already there that we're just going to improve on and make better. And so let's talk about really the layout of what I'll call the field production area here. So let me zoom in and we'll check that out. All right, so this is a zoom in of the field production area, and you can see that there really isn't much organization. It's kind of a mess. There are some beds here and a walkway that sort of goes crooked and ends, and then who knows what's going on over here. And there was some organization here, but it's sort of been overgrown. So we're basically going to wipe this slate clean and start over and put in a really efficient layout. And so let me show you what I have drawn up so far. Just keep in mind that it's pretty crude, but it'll get the point across. All right, so here's my rough site plan. So you can see that I put the measurements on here. It's 147 feet this way, 75 feet this way. Those are sort of the rough dimensions I'm working with. The things in yellow are the sort of obstacles. This is that sidewalk that I mentioned, and I think we're going to be able to pull this up with a skid steer, which is going to come in and help us out. This right here is that backflow preventer. This will not be moved, and this is that area with the water right there. So those are the things that I sort of have to work around. So this is not an exact number of beds, but these vertical green lines here, these will be 50-foot beds. Everything on the farm will be 50 feet. Just keep in mind on the right here is north, and on the left here is south. So this will work out really well. There is a slight pitch downhill in this direction, so this will be fine. And I don't think there's much of a difference between having east-west or north-south beds. We will have a mixture, but the general production area for annual vegetables will be in this east-west fashion. If you've seen the other videos, I've talked about doing 30-inch beds and 18-inch walkways. And another thing that we're going to incorporate on the farm is putting in hedgerows with beneficials. It'll be a mixture of herbs and flowers and some other stuff. And basically, we're going to put them in every so many beds, and I think the first one we're going to be putting in is going to be right here where this backflow preventer is, so we can work around that and not take up production space. So we'll put them, I don't know, every so often. I'm not really sure. Maybe we'll have 3 or 4 mixed into these annual beds here. And just doing a quick calculation, we should be able to get 30-something beds in that production space. So lots and lots of production. And then so this here, this brown bit, this will be the main walkway, and then there'll be a walkway going down this way, and the shed is just out of sight right here. And these beds here we're going to either use for maybe some trellising crops like cucumbers or peppers or eggplants. And then down here we're probably going to be doing more perennial stuff. We're going to get some fruits like blueberries and stuff like that. And the other idea here is that the more perennial crops will be further away from the main production area, which, the driveway is over here and the wash pack. So this one will have to get visited as often. And these dark gray lines here, we're going to be doing some more perennial stuff that'll be really cool, but I'm not really sure exactly what's going in there. So this is sort of the overall layout here. And I think it makes a really simple layout. And again, moving materials, we're going to have the wood chips and the compost be directly accessed right to the beds. and it'll be real easy to set up irrigation on a nice long row of beds here. And so that's pretty much what I'm thinking here. But there isn't too much, I don't think, there aren't really too many options here to get this laid out nicely, but I think this is going to work out really well. All right, so that is the layout for the farm. I just want to share with you guys my thought process, and hopefully you can take some things out of it. It may be helpful for you guys and your property. The next step really is we're going to have a big volunteer work day, and we're going to try to hand pull as many of the crops and weeds and stuff that are growing there, and that way we can get a jump start on the season. Generally, that's a hard thing to do, but we do have volunteer labor, and we are on a short timeline because we're trying to get things planted quickly. After we get those pulled out, we're going to have a skid steer come in and try to level things as much as possible so that we have a really nice flat level area to set up our beds, and then we're going to tarp it for as long as we can. We only have a few tarps, so we're going to have to do in sections, but that's actually okay because we can't plant the whole field at once. We're going to have to plant it out in successions. So that's what's coming up in the near future. Just keep in mind a lot of the things that I mentioned here that are important, things about standardizing bed length, because that way you can share things like shade cloth, row cover, insect netting, irrigation, also standardizing your transplanting, seeding, and harvesting, all really important stuff. Hopefully you guys got a little bit out of this and you can apply some of this stuff to your property. Now, if you have a property that is just a really funky shape, you can definitely get creative. Or if there's already beds built and you don't want to redo everything, that's totally understandable. But if you're starting with a blank slate, I really encourage you guys to try to systematically design your farm so that things are all standardized. Anyways, if you haven't already, guys, please subscribe to the channel. It would be greatly appreciated. It does help a lot. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.